Okay, this is part 2 of your vlog for Friday, June 4th, 2021. I'm headed outside to get the second snake from the van that I took to the vet today. And that is our adult royal python, Fulcrum, who is still in quarantine. There's some of the dogs. Luna, she's the one standing on the picnic table barking. So Fulcrum is still in quarantine. He's only about halfway through his quarantine. He got here April 21st and this is June 4th. So off the top of my head, I'm guessing he's about halfway through his quarantine. I'm gonna have to close this down or you won't be able to hear me. So Fulcrum was in his humid hide when I went to get him out of the quarantine enclosure, and I just lifted the whole thing out and put it in this travel bin. But now I see Fulcrum is out of his humid hide and he's laying in the travel bin. So I'm not sure if I'll just take the whole travel bin into the quarantine room. He's still in quarantine, so I don't want to take him out and hold him in the main area of the house yet until if nidovirus test comes back negative, then I'll probably start handling him and having him in videos and doing some training, because the vet said he looked great. He was a little chunky, so he could stand to lose a little weight, but other than that, she said he looked great, looked healthy. She didn't find anything wrong with him on physical exam, but I do want to wait for that virus testing. Now the dogs have decided they'll stop barking temporarily. This is our front gate. So we have what I call an airlock, but it's like a vestibule. So we can come in this first gate and then we're in a contained area and we have to go through a second gate here to get into the yard that contains the house, and that's where all the snakes are, and it's where the dogs are. And the reason that we have this set up, it's similar to what you would see at a dog park or a kennel, is because we do take in rescue dogs. Some of the dogs that we've had here have been flight risks and we don't want to lose any. So we have this double gate system to get in and out of the yard and the house. I'm trying to hold the snake bin and video, but there's the double gate system from the front porch of the house, just so that you can kind of see what that looks like. There are no other snakes in this particular room of the house, so I think I am going to try to move him back into his humid hide to carry him back into his quarantine bin. If I can pick him up, put him back in here, and that way I don't have this transport tub in the quarantine room. And they said he was fine. I actually have not handled him or anything other than the first day he got here, but he doesn't seem bad. I just wanted to warn him that I was going to pick him up. So this is Fulcrum. He's our 5.5-year-old royal python. And as soon as he's cleared of being a carrier or being infected with nidovirus, he will start being in some videos and I'll start working with him a little bit more. But he got a physical exam today and he got microchipped and he got a mouth swab, a coanal swab done, and the vet is sending that off to a lab for nidovirus testing. So I'm going to just put him back humid hide here. And he's trying to come out of it. You have to go back into quarantine for 6 more weeks. How interesting that he wants to roam around. Now we do have an exercise space back here that I do let the snakes on. I'm not going to let him in that area, but we don't have any snakes that live in this room. This room of the house gets extremely, extremely hot, and so I can't really have enclosures in this part of the room, in this part of the house without air conditioning. So we have an exercise space there. We store some of our supplies here, our dog food prep cart and cleaning supplies and some other things. I mean, we do have snakes that do roam around in this area for exercise and time out of their enclosures, but not necessarily that live in here. So now that he's back in there, I'm just going to take him back to his quarantine tub where he has to stay until further notice. You guys have seen this before. This is his quarantine tub. You see that there's a cat on top of it. So I'm going to move her a little bit. I'm just going to pick him up, and I'm just going to put him right back into his quarantine bin inside his humid hide. Put the lid back on. And there you go, Fulcrum. You'll start getting more interaction once I'm sure that you're healthy. So both of those snakes, Asgard, who is an albino Darwin carpet python, Morelius spilota variegata, and Fulcrum, who is a piebald python regis or royal python, both went to the veterinarian for wellness checks today. There is nothing wrong with them that I know of, but for my own peace of mind, because they both came from places that are either little known to me or that I have been told have a history of nidovirus in their facilities. And so I just want to make sure before I handle them a bunch and before I interact with them a lot, allow them to interact on exercise spaces or with other snakes, that they're good to go. The vet said that both of them looked fantastic. They looked healthy. They looked great. She didn't find anything wrong on physical exam. She said that Fulcrum's a little overweight, and so she isn't worried at all about him not eating right away. He's only been here a few weeks. He interacted with food the first week that I offered it to him. He nosed it, he tongue flicked at it, he touched it, he interacted with it. So he is aware that food resources are available here, but I haven't tried to feed him since. Just based on his behavior, I don't think he'll eat. Remember that he has lived 5.5 years in a rack. So he lived in a tub with plain paper for substrate and a water dish, and that was it from the time he was hatched until he was 5.5 years old when he came here. So he's stressed. That's a huge transition to make. And even though I have really, really minimal environmental stimulation within his quarantine tub, it's still more than he's ever had in his whole life. So it's an extreme change for him. He has substrate, he has a hide, and he has a branch. And that doesn't sound like much, but compared to an empty tub with plain white paper and a water dish, that's a lot. So we need to give him time to settle in and transition slowly and become more comfortable. And since the vet said he is overweight, I'm not worried about feeding him anytime soon. We'll worry about that down the road. He and Asgard both got physical exams. They got choanal swabs taken from the inside of their mouth for nidovirus testing. That will be sent off, and I bet we'll get the results sometime in the middle of next week. And then they both got microchip implants. And yes, I usually microchip my own snakes here, but if one's going to the vet anyway and they're not microchipped yet, I go ahead and have the veterinarian do it, because then they can be the bad guy and stick the snake with the needle, and I don't have to do that. So that's what I did this afternoon. My reptile veterinarian is Dr. Liza Pfaff at Critter Care Animal Hospital in Centennial, Colorado. They are a fear-free certified animal hospital, and they're about an hour and a half to 2 hours away depending on traffic. But I am very willing to drive that far because she's an excellent veterinarian and because they're a fear-free certified practice. And I've been nothing but happy with the service they've provided to my snakes, and they are the ones that did surgery on my carpet python Hank when he had to have a cancerous tumor removed. It was about a 2-hour drive there because of traffic and because of lane closures on I-25 between Colorado Springs and Denver. And then it was a little less than 2 hours to get back. So here I am, I'm tired, the snakes are back where they belong, and I'm gonna go feed horses now. I wanna thank all of my Patreon subscribers for your interest in snake training and behavior and animal training and behavior in general, and I will see you soon. Until next time, please remember to always be kind and love your animals.